sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.
All right. Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, it's about those fires out in the Pacific Palisades.
Yeah.
And you guys sent in this article about Steve Guttenberg and like what he was doing out there. Mm-hmm. And it's wild. It's one of those stories where you kind of think like,
yeah,
man, what would I be doing in that situation?
Right. It really makes you think, yeah. What would I do? Would I be frozen?
Yeah, would I be running around like a crazy person, or would I actually be helpful?
Right. Yeah. I think it's really interesting how people react in those situations.
Let's dive into this deep dive and see what we can unpack here.
Absolutely.
Okay, so just to set the scene a little bit, this is about the fires that were ripping through the Pacific Palisades in California.
Right.
Forcing like tons of evacuations.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Thousands of acres.
Yeah, and I mean, the People article really kind of paints this crazy picture, over 1,200 acres burning, the fire is spreading super fast, and there's something like 250 firefighters out there battling these flames.
Those guys are amazing.
It just sounds like pure chaos.
Well, and in that kind of situation, it's so important to, like, every second counts.
Okay.
I mean, you think about evacuations.
Yeah.
Stressful.
Yeah.
And then traffic jams.
Oh, forget it.
Not just annoying.
Yeah.
They're downright dangerous.
Yeah.
Especially if they're blocking the fire trucks.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that.
Oh, yeah, you got to get those guys through.
Yeah, because if they can't even get there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, it makes sense. You get this massive fire, and then you add in just like human chaos on top of that.
Right.
And
it's a recipe for disaster.
well, and that's kind of what's so striking about this whole thing is that, of all people, Steve Guttenberg is out there actively helping people evacuate.
Of all the people to be the hero.
I know, right? I mean, most of us probably think of him from
Police Academy.
Police Academy, Cocoon, those 80s movies.
Yeah, those were classics.
Not directing traffic in a wildfire.
Right. Like, who would have thought?
But that's exactly what he's doing. So it kind of raises this question, like, can one person, can one person really even make a difference when you're talking about a disaster of this scale?
Is it a drop in the bucket?
Yeah, because it's easy to kind of feel that way, right?
Yeah.
Like your actions are just a drop in the bucket when you're facing something so massive.
Totally. Like, what can I do?
Yeah, so what's your take on that?
Yeah.
Does individual action actually matter when you've got a fire that's totally out of control?
I think it absolutely does. Think about it this way. Every single car that Guttenberg moved.
Yeah.
Every person that he was like, leave your keys, get out here.
Yeah.
That's one less bottleneck.
Oh, okay.
And those bottlenecks can cause this like cascading effect.
Oh, wow.
It slows down the emergency vehicles.
Yeah.
And then the fire spreads further.
Oh, man.
And that puts more lives at risk.
So his actions weren't just about, like, those few cars. It was about keeping the whole flow of the evacuation going.
Exactly. Keeping things...
And stopping that domino effect.
Absolutely.
Of, delays and more danger.
Yeah, exactly. It's like his actions really show how important it is to just act in a crisis. Like, we all have that tendency to freeze up, when things are crazy.
Right.
But even small things can make a ripple effect.
It's true. And speaking of small actions, the article even mentions that he was like urging people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just grab your loved ones, get to safety.
Yeah.
Like, prioritize people.
Yeah.
Over, belongings. Which is so easy to get caught up in the moment.
Totally.
Trying to save all your stuff.
Right. Grab the photo albums.
But ultimately, it's about getting yourself and the people you care about out of harm's way.
Exactly. And that's where you see the whole like community resilience thing come in.
Oh, interesting.
Disasters can bring out the best in people.
That's true.
Neighbors helping neighbors, strangers helping strangers, and people like Guttenberg putting everybody else first.
Yeah.
It reminds us we're all connected and what we do matters.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And what's interesting, too, is that it seems like he wasn't doing it for attention.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The article mentions that he was basically incognito.
Interesting.
Like he had a baseball cap on, a face mask.
Smart.
Covered in soot.
Oh, wow.
And even the reporter didn't recognize him at first.
No way.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Well, that's important, I think, because it shows you, sometimes we have this idea of celebrities.
Yeah.
Like, they're just doing good deeds for publicity.
Right.
But this seems genuine.
Yeah.
Like he was just trying to help.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty refreshing to see somebody in his position just like quietly doing what needs to be done.
Totally.
No fanfare.
Yeah.
Just doing his thing.
Says a lot about his character.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
But it also makes you think about like, okay, so if he's out there moving cars and like telling people leave your keys, that means that some people were like hesitant to evacuate?
Yeah, totally. That's really common in those situations. I mean, you've got that denial phase, you know?
Yeah.
People are like, oh, it won't be that bad.
Right. It's not going to get to me.
Right, exactly. Or they think, I can ride this out.
Yeah, right.
You know, then there's the fear of leaving all your stuff behind, that attachment to your place.
Right.
And sometimes it's just like they're overwhelmed. They don't know what to do or where to go.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Wow. Yeah. That makes you think about like the mental and emotional barriers that people have in those moments.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not just the fire. It's the mental stuff too.
Yeah. It's not just about physical danger.
Right.
But like the mental struggle of what's happening and making those like life or death decisions.
Totally. And that's when clear communication from leaders and emergency responders, that becomes vital. You know, people like Guttenberg who step up.
Yeah.
They can cut through that panic and give people clear directions.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. It sounds like he was almost acting as like an impromptu leader.
Yeah, a leader in the chaos.
Yeah, helping to kind of guide people to safety and make the evacuation go smoother.
Exactly. And it's interesting how leadership can just pop up in the weirdest places.
Yeah.
Especially during crises.
That's true.
So it just underscores how important it is to be prepared.
Right.
You know? Know your evacuation routes, have a plan in place, understand how people react in disasters. All that stuff helps you make better decisions when things are crazy.
Okay, so we've got this like dramatic scene playing out.
Yeah.
Fires raging, evacuations are happening, and we've got Steve Guttenberg as the unlikely hero.
Right.
But then the article throws in this other element.
Uh-oh.
They say there's a life-threatening windstorm. Yeah.
Oh.
That's expected to hit the area.
Oh, man.
And that's where things get even more like complicated because wind can totally change how a fire behaves.
Absolutely. It can make it spread so much faster.
Right.
And it's unpredictable.
Yeah. And this isn't just like, oh, a breeze.
Yeah.
We're talking about a windstorm that they're calling life-threatening.
Wow.
So what does wind actually do to a fire that's already raging? Like, how does it change the game for the firefighters and everyone else?
Well, imagine you're trying to contain a fire.
Yeah.
And it's behaving in a, you know, relatively predictable way.
Okay.
Crews are working on fire lines.
Right.
They're using water and retardant.
Okay.
They're trying to anticipate where it's going to go next.
Yeah, I could see how that would be challenging, but like manageable.
Right.
Compared to what's about to happen.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now throw in a powerful windstorm.
Uh-oh.
Suddenly that fire is no longer predictable.
Right.
The wind whips up the flames.
Yeah.
Creates intense heat.
Oh, wow.
And it sends embers flying way farther than they would normally go.
Wow.
It's crazy.
So those embers can like jump over roads and stuff. Start new fires in areas that people thought were safe.
Right.
And it just makes it way more erratic and dangerous.
Totally. It becomes like exponentially harder to contain.
Right.
Like the fire lines they were working on. Useless.
Oh, wow.
Wind just pushes the fire in crazy directions. And for the people evacuating, I mean, forget it.
Yeah.
Your risk of getting caught just goes way up.
It's a terrifying scenario.
Oh, yeah.
You're already stressed about evacuation, and then you add this whole unpredictable element.
Yeah, it's like out of the frying pan into the fire.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
It makes Guttenberg's actions even more like impressive, you know, moving those cars when it could all change in an instant.
Totally. Every little bit helps in those situations.
Yeah.
And, you know, his actions might seem small in the big picture.
Right.
But they could have really made a difference
for
the people evacuating and, you know, just keeping things flowing.
That's true.
Yeah.
It makes you think about how we view, like, heroism. We always think of these big, grand gestures.
Right, saving the cat from the tree.
Yeah, exactly. But sometimes It's the everyday stuff.
Yeah.
The courage and compassion that doesn't make the news.
Right.
That makes the biggest difference.
Totally. Real heroism, it often goes unnoticed.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's not important.
Right.
Guttenberg's story is a good reminder that we can all step up and help others, even when things are really tough.
Yeah. You mentioned being prepared for disasters.
Oh, yeah, that's crucial.
What advice would you give to someone listening who's thinking, okay, this is all interesting, but what about me?
Right.
How can I be more prepared?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
First step is awareness,
Okay.
Understand what kinds of disasters could happen where you live.
Right, like, are you in a wildfire zone? Hurricane zone?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Know your enemy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you can make a plan.
So tailor the plan
Right.
with the specific threats.
Exactly. And a good plan has a few key parts.
Okay.
First,
Yeah.
communication.
Okay.
You got to have a family communication plan.
Yeah.
So everyone knows how to reach each other if you get separated.
Makes sense.
Second, evacuation routes.
Okay.
Know where to go, have a meeting place.
So you're not panicking last minute.
Exactly. And that's where technology can be a lifesaver.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, there are apps and websites
Okay.
that give you real-time info.
Evacuation orders, road closures, shelters.
Wow.
Get familiar with those beforehand.
So being tech savvy can be a good thing in these situations.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Okay.
And of course, you got to have an emergency kit.
Right, the essentials.
Yeah, water, food that won't go bad, first aid stuff,
Yeah.
medications, a flashlight, a radio that runs on batteries, copies of important documents.
That's a little survival starter pack.
Exactly.
Ready to grab and go.
Yep, and don't forget special needs.
Oh.
Pets, elderly family, anyone with medical conditions.
Yes, factor that into the plan.
Yeah, think through all the possibilities.
Be as prepared as you can.
Exactly. Right. And beyond the practical stuff, there's the mental and emotional stuff.
Right.
Talk to your family about what to expect, how to stay calm, how to work together.
Those conversations can be tough.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with kids.
For sure.
But so important to have them in advance.
Yeah. You're building resilience as a family.
It's true.
And, disasters are stressful, they're overwhelming, but there's always hope.
Okay.
Communities come together, people help each other, acts of kindness like what Guttenberg did.
Yeah.
They remind us of how strong humans can be.
It's a good reminder that even in the worst times, there's still good out there.
Absolutely.
The compassion, the resilience.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to bring it back to you, the listener.
Okay.
We've talked about Guttenberg's actions, the importance of stepping up,
Yeah.
and how to be prepared for a disaster.
Right.
But what about the human side of this? We've talked about the logistics of preparing and stuff.
Yeah.
But what about the emotional and psychological side of all this?
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, disasters can really trigger a whole wave of emotions.
Right.
Fear, anxiety, feeling totally overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Even numbness.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's important to realize, that's normal.
Yeah.
Those are normal reactions to a totally crazy situation.
I think it's easy to get so caught up in the practical side.
Oh, for sure.
Like food, water, shelter.
Right. The survival stuff.
That we forget about the emotional and mental impact.
Totally.
So what advice would you give to someone who's, struggling with that? Like the emotional fallout of a disaster?
Well, first and foremost, reach out for support.
Okay.
Talk to family, friends, neighbors, maybe even a professional counselor.
Okay.
Sharing what you went through, how you're feeling, that can really help you process it all.
Right.
And start to heal.
Yeah, don't isolate yourself.
Exactly. It's that old saying, but it's true.
Yeah.
Talking it out makes a difference.
Right.
It reminds us that we're not alone.
Yeah, even though it can feel like that sometimes.
Totally.
Okay, so reach out, talk it out. What else?
Well, remember that healing takes time.
Okay.
Be patient with yourself.
Yeah.
Don't expect to bounce back overnight.
Right.
There'll be good days, bad days. That's normal. It's a process.
Exactly. Not a quick fix. And it's okay to ask for help along the way.
I'm curious, what are some common misconceptions people have about disaster preparedness?
Oh, that's a good one.
What do people tend to overlook or misunderstand?
I think one big one is that disasters only happen to other people.
Right. It won't happen to me.
Yeah, exactly. We have this sense of invincibility.
Yeah.
But the reality is disasters can hit anyone, anywhere, anytime.
Right. They don't discriminate.
No.
As we've seen with these fires and so many other events.
For sure.
Okay, so don't be overconfident.
Right.
What else?
Another misconception is that being prepared means like stockpiling tons of supplies.
Oh, right. Like you have to have a year's worth of stuff.
Yeah, like a doomsday prepper.
Yeah, exactly.
While having some essentials is crucial.
Right.
It's more about having a plan.
Okay.
Knowing your risks and staying informed.
So not a bunker, but a plan.
Exactly.
Yeah. And lastly, I think there's this idea that being prepared means being constantly afraid.
Oh, interesting.
Like you're living in a state of anxiety.
Yeah.
But that's not what it's about. It's about being empowered.
Right.
You have knowledge. You have resources.
All right.
So you can face those tough situations with confidence.
So it's about shifting that mindset.
Yeah. From fear to empowerment.
Knowing you've done what you can to prepare.
It can actually reduce anxiety and help you feel more in control.
Even in the middle of all the crazy.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this.
Okay.
What are some small acts of helpfulness that you've witnessed?
Oh, that's good.
Or participated in?
Yeah.
During a tough time? How did those actions make a difference?
Yeah, think back to those moments, big or small, where you saw someone step up, lend a hand, say a kind word.
Right.
Maybe it was helping a neighbor, donating to a relief effort, or just listening to someone who was struggling.
Yeah, sometimes it's the small things that have the biggest impact.
Absolutely. They remind us that we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And even in the dark times, there's always that potential for kindness, compassion, hope.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thank you.
So we'll leave you with those thoughts to ponder. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have a ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.